Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Kessler, and I'm from Kessler Insurance Agency. And I am here today on behalf of Cheers for Charity New Hampshire with my wonderful friend Joanne Burchuck. Hi, Joanne.
Hey, Lisa, great to be here. Yes, Joanne from Lighthouse Physical Therapy. And we are very excited to have another viewing of our Cheers for Charity. And today we are very fortunate to have with us Jen Kennedy, and she's with the Blue Ocean Society. So, Jen, thank you so much for joining us today. And you want to just take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization? That would be great.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. Again, I'm Jen Kennedy. I'm the Executive Director and co-founder of Blue Ocean Society for Marine Conservation, which is based in Portsmouth. And we've been around since about 2001. So we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, which is pretty exciting for us. Our mission is to protect marine life in the Gulf of Maine through research, education, and inspiring action. So we work really locally, but also talk about issues that impact everybody really worldwide, because the health of the ocean, a healthy ocean is really important to the health of all of us. So our mission is to basically study the whales that are out here in the Gulf of Maine. We've been doing studying whales and other marine life actually since the late 1990s, before we were officially founded, and see what we're learning out there in the Gulf of Maine, and take all the fascinating information we're learning and talk about those wonderful species that are out there, teach people about the ocean and how important it is and how they can protect it. So we have a number of programs that we do. Our whale research is primarily from whale watch vessels right now. We work with Granite State Whale Watch and Rye. And so while we're out doing whale watches with them from May through October, we're also collecting a lot of really important data on the whales and other sightings that we have out there. And another one of our really big programs is our marine debris programs, basically doing beach cleanups and studying the plastics and other litter that are on our beaches. And we've been doing cleanups for about 20 years now, involving volunteers doing public beach cleanups. We also have an Adopt a Beach program. So for groups that really want to do a lot of cleanups, they agree to do a cleanup at least once a month, and we basically give them a beach to adopt. And at every one of our cleanups, we collect data on what we find. So it's not only picking up the beach and making it safer for wildlife and people, but learning a lot about trash and the litter that's on our beach, what the problem areas are, and what the trends are over the years. And then we also do a lot of education and outreach as well, of course, because education is really key to solving the whole problem of, impacts on marine life out in the Gulf of Maine. So we do school programs, and we also have a small discovery center, our Blue Ocean Discovery Center down in Hampton Beach. Of course, a lot of stuff has had to change in the last year, thanks to COVID, but we're keeping on.
Yeah, that is great. I love, I've heard so much about the ocean cleanup, the beach cleanups, and I thank you to your group for really focusing on our beautiful beaches and facilitating people to come and help clean up that, because it just is such a beautiful spot. And, it helps one aesthetically, but again, like you said, helps all the ocean and marine life. So thank you for that. That's fantastic. One thing I did notice, if you want to go back to a little bit to the studies that you guys do, and I know you do a lot with the whales, and I noticed one thing on your website that said whales are an indicator species in the Gulf of Maine. And I was wondering if you could just share a little bit more about that and what you've seen. You've been doing this for a long time. So over the 20 years, what are the things that you're finding and the indicators, and maybe some things that are happening because of the data you've collected?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes it's hard to see, we see things that we think are going on, and, it's hard to tease out what the actual cause of them are sometimes. But so I guess one of the most important things is that we can identify individual whales out there. So each species has natural markings that we can use to tell the individuals apart. Humpbacks are a well-known example. Humpback whales, when they dive down on the underside of their tail, there's markings that range from all black to all white. It's just like our fingerprint. So it's a way we can tell individuals apart. And this is the area where whales come and feed during the summer. So they'll come up here from around March or April, stay until November, December, and then a lot of them migrate south in the wintertime during their breeding season. But whales seem to have preferred feeding areas. We do have a bunch of whales that we've seen almost every year since we started our research over 20 years ago. And they will also, if they give birth down in their southern breeding grounds, they'll bring their calves up here. And so being able to track individuals allows us to learn a lot about behaviors and distribution over time. So, how often are females giving birth and which areas do they prefer to go in? So that's really important. We've had, over the last several years, we've had some noticeable changes. One, you might have seen in the news, whales have been closer to shore. So there were a few months over the last couple of years where you could actually go down to Hampton or Salisbury Beach and see whales feeding like so close that you could see them with the naked eye. And that was, we think, in response to a fish called menhaden or pogies that seem to be coming closer to shore, and the whales have been following them closer to shore. So since this summer is their feeding season, everything is really prey driven. So their movements, they go wherever their food is. And right whales are another species. They're really important, critically endangered species, less than 400 of them left in the world. And they're a species that used to be up in the Bay of Fundy in Canada during the summer, but more recently they've been going further north, probably again in search of prey. And we've also had right whales here a lot of times in some areas, or some years, although we don't see them all the time in other areas. So in other years, sorry, like messing up my words today. But so yeah, our work kind of allows us to see trends over time and which areas are the whales using, are they moving closer to shore or not? And stuff like that can help with mitigating our impacts on the species. So, two of the main threats to whales are getting hit by boats and getting entangled in fishing gear. And then there's lots of other, impacts such as noise in the ocean and marine debris and things like that. But our work can help, for example, if they were going to site some sort of wind farm, in an area of the Gulf of Maine, our data might be able to show like, you can put it here because whales hardly ever use this spot, but you don't want to put it here because we've seen them here every year over the last 20 years. So it is important to have that long-term data and know what the behaviors are and, have that stretch of time so that we can figure out what areas are most important to them, because obviously humans are using the Gulf of Maine all the time. Whales are, we all need to coexist and figure out how to do that. And the only way we can do that is by having that information, that background.
Yeah, that's great. Another great program I had seen on your website is the straw program, which again, how you guys are educating people on environmental impacts of that stuff, but a simple thing like plastic straws, and being able to alleviate that. It sounds like you have, quite a backing for that particular program. Any other programs that we should be aware of?
Let me think. Yeah, one of the things we try to focus on is kind of easy behavior changes that people can do that will make a difference. And straws was one we picked because we regularly, in a normal year, we do about 200 beach cleanups a year, and we usually pick up 2,000 or 3,000 straws. So, and some people need straws, most people don't. And it's pretty easy to switch to either, not getting a straw when you're out or using a reusable straw or something like that. Other things like, bringing your own mug and stuff like that, things which again are a little bit more difficult due to the pandemic. But so those are some of the things we try to emphasize, when we're out on whale watches and at our Discovery Center and down in school programs, is just some of those small behavior changes that you can make. And as far as other initiatives that we're working on, it's a good question. Everything has changed so much. I feel like we've pivoted a lot to doing virtual programs this year. And one of the things we're educating people a lot on are microplastics. So as plastics break down in the environment, they turn into these smaller pieces called microplastics. And we see a lot of those on our beaches. So we've been doing some microplastics lesson plans, teaching teachers, doing some teacher workshops to try giving them some activities that they can do with their students, whether they're remote or in the classroom. And we have a new lending kit available for teachers that would like to go to our workshop. They learn how to use the lesson plans, and then we have a kit available for the teachers that gives them all the materials they need to run those labs in the classroom, so they can borrow it for 2 or 3 weeks, whatever they need, and then bring it back and it goes to the next teacher. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Lisa, looks like you're ready to jump in here.
Oh, I'm taking notes. Like, there's so much great information, and it's so important, right? You know, we don't have a lot of, New Hampshire doesn't have a lot of footage in terms of coastline, but it's such an important part. It makes us the seacoast, right? This area of New Hampshire.
Right.
And so the work that you're doing, the education, the cleanups, the tracking of data, you know, those kinds of programs are so important to the success and the economic success of our communities, because people come because of the oceans. You know, they come to this area, the seacoast. That's what makes Portsmouth so fantastic, right? Is you're so close to the oceans and the beaches, and it's easy access. And so the work that you're doing has so much impact, and it sort of rolls out beyond just, geez, the water is clean, or well, the whales are, you know, we know where they are. It's so much bigger than that. Yeah. So I'm taking a whole bunch of notes and enjoying hearing about the work that you guys have been doing for 20 years. So congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Fantastic. Maybe you could just tell us real quick too, a little bit about how has the pandemic really impacted you, not just in terms of, you know, how you educate people and, you know, switching to Zoom and people can't come to your activities as much because it's hard to do activities, right? But what else how else has it impacted your organization?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things last year, as I said, in 2019, we did, I think, 248 beach cleanups, which our goal eventually is to not have to do beach cleanups. We want to put ourselves out of that whole business. I would like to go to the beach and just walk on the beach and not find anything. That would be awesome. But until then, you know, beach cleanups are a great way to pick up the litter before it goes out into the ocean or affects wildlife, and also a great learning experience for people. You know, I don't know if you've been to a beach cleanup, but people always say that, you know, they never noticed litter on the beach or on the roadway until they did a beach cleanup and like picked it up for an hour, and then they couldn't go anywhere without noticing litter again. So it does hopefully have some lasting impacts. So that last year when the pandemic hit, all the beaches were closed, and then when they reopened, you know, parking was limited and things like that. So we really had to scale back our beach cleanup programs last year. So instead of doing over 200 cleanups, we did 65, I believe, in New Hampshire, which is still a fairly good number. But, you know, we're like, we used to have thousands of cleanup volunteers in a normal year. You know, how do we reach people, and what are we doing about that litter, which is probably increasing thanks to the pandemic? You know, people are using more single-use plastic to be safe, and we found masks on every single beach cleanups we did last year. We also had to close our Blue Ocean Discovery Center during the summer. Things were a little bit crazy in Hampton Beach last summer, and our Discovery Center is right in the center of the beach across from the casino ballroom complex, and it's also a pretty small space. So on a good day, you can't really social distance in there. And in a typical summer, we'd see nearly 21,000 people. And the whole goal of that center was, we had been doing so many beach cleanups on Hampton Beach, and you know, it's a really obviously there's great local residents there, but it's also a pretty transient population. You know, people come for a day or they come for a week, and we're like, how do we get people to take care of the beach better, because it's just heavily impacted there with so many people. And so at our center, we have touch tanks and we have displays on the ocean, and we do beach cleanups with people. And so just to think that we couldn't reach those 20,000 people, we were expecting to have our biggest summer ever, you know, both with beach cleanups and educational programs. And, you know, we've been on a great growth trajectory, and everything kind of came to a screeching halt like it did for everybody else. But, you know, staff safety was like the utmost importance. We didn't want to open the center and have somebody sick. And our staff alone, you know, we rely heavily on volunteers, because we only have 3 full-time staff members and 1 part-time staff member. So it's like, if one of us got COVID and it spread through our staff, that's a a big problem for the organization. So there was definitely a lot of considerations we had to take into account.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing how much we've all been impacted. So thank you for sharing that. There's so much that your organization does. There's so many ways that you touch people's lives in our community. If people want to learn more about your organization, what are the best ways to do that?
Definitely, if you want to hear about upcoming events, you can, we have a newsletter that you can sign up for our e-blast. We send out our e-blast usually once or twice a month. We're not that kind that just hits you up every day for stuff. And we've started to do more online programs. So next week, we have a happy hour to talk about right whales, and that's going to be on Facebook Live. We also have, I'm doing a talk on marine debris on Thursday night. So we have this evening program series. So signing up for our newsletter is a great way to do that. You can do that right on any page of our website at blueoceansociety.org. We're also really active on Facebook and Instagram if people want to touch base with us on social media. We do have a lot of volunteer opportunities, and we're doing our best to make remote volunteer opportunities available because, of course, that's what everybody needs right now. But as soon as things start to open up again, we look for volunteers at our Discovery Center in Hampton Beach. We have volunteers help with educational programs. Right now, we have volunteers that are helping with things just like writing articles for our blog and stuff like that. So we could use a lot of different skills. We have board openings as well. We're looking to expand our board of directors. We're looking to grow the organization quite a bit over the next few years. So people that are interested in helping with that, we'd love to hear from them. And we also have a student internship program as well. So we have college students that help us with education and data collection primarily during the summer. So our internship applications are due March 1st. And we also have a new education internship this year as well. Applications are due a little bit later in the spring. So lots of ways to get involved.
Lots of ways. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was really fantastic, and we absolutely appreciate all the work that you guys are doing for our oceans and keeping things clean and getting the knowledge out there to people.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely couldn't do it without all the volunteer help. So I really owe everything to them. So
well, we'll do our best to get the word out about all your great opportunities, and so we're so grateful that you joined our little initiative today and shared, and it was really great chatting with you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.